Am I the jerk for not giving my struggling parent any money? I am a 21-year-old woman living with my big sister and my dad. I am a university student with a part-time job. This part-time job makes me £11 sterling 95 pence per hour for 8 hours a day, 2 days a week. I make £764, 80 pence a month from this job. This goes to commuting to and from university. My job requires me to travel between clients, which I pay for. I also use this money for my cat's food, litter and other essentials, my phone bill and my own food. My dad asked me for £400 sterling a month to help him. I understand that he could be struggling financially and that he might need some help, but £400 sterling is ridiculous. This would mean a majority of my work will go to him. When I ask for a specific reason as to why, he just says that he needs the money and that he has a lot to pay. My dad is not a gambler or anything, so the money isn't going to any bad habits. He already gets £500 sterling a month from my big sister. He often asks me to pick up more shifts to make more money. When I say that I don't want to, he says, "Is it because you don't want to give me any of it? Do you think working less will mean you have to give me less money? Because that's not why I'm asking you to do it. It's for your own good. I am working less because I want to, because I don't want to work more than I have to, and also partly because the more money I make, the more money he will expect. I am always helping him with parking tickets, appeals, government-related things, emails, etc., and have done so since I was a child. He has 8 children including me. The other children live in a different house in our home country, and I can imagine the financial burden that is. It feels like a little look into my future, how I wouldn't be able to do anything since all my disposable income will be going to him. When I didn't have a consistently paying job, he didn't ask me for money. This leads me to believe he is not struggling as much as he says he is. Why does it only come up when he is aware of my income? It irritates me to my core when he calls me on my payday, asking for the money, and gives me a vague reason as to where my money would be going. He proceeds to guilt-trip me with the amount of hours he works and the amount of things he has to pay. He pays £1,000 sterling a month to an optional saving thing that some extended family members do. They give that much money every month, and each month it all goes to one of them. Basically, it's a saving program. He also pays for my sister's cosmetic classes and my brother's computer science classes, which are both things my dad said would be good for them and are both extracurriculars. I'm thinking, if you really are struggling, why are you asking me for money before you cut out the costs you don't even need to give? Could you guys tell me how to approach this? I can't be the only one who thinks this savings program is really weird, can I? How many family members are in on this, and what happens if he doesn't pay? Doesn't that free up £1,000 a month? Your dad is definitely being greedy by charging rent while you're taking loans for university. Am I the jerk for disturbing my downstairs neighbor? My boyfriend, who is 21 years old, and I, a 21-year-old female, just moved into an apartment together. We have 2 cats around the age of 1. Our downstairs neighbor complained about us being too loud at night to the front office. I explained to the front office that the cats tend to be playful with each other, and that was likely the noise my neighbor was hearing. We have hardwood floors, so the woman at the front office suggested we buy a rug to muffle the sound of the cats running around or wrestling with each other. We got a rug that takes up almost our entire living room that same day. We also decided to have the cats stay in my boyfriend's and my bedroom at night, so we could make sure they were not being too loud, and the carpet in the bedroom would muffle the sound of them moving around better. A week later, we got a call about another complaint. I explained to the office the steps we had taken to help with the problem, and they thanked us for doing what we could and said there would not be any repercussions because we were trying. That night at 1 a.m., our downstairs neighbor knocked on our door to complain to us directly. My boyfriend was at his desk watching something with headphones on. I was in bed, and the cats were both asleep at the foot of the bed. We had no idea what the neighbor was hearing, and my boyfriend told her as much. He explained to her the steps we had taken to try and stop the noise. She said she had no idea we had cats, and that it was not fair for us to lock them up at night. She apologized and left. My boyfriend thought maybe his desk chair was making noise when he moved, so he switched it out for one of our dining room chairs. We stopped locking the cats up at night because she had said so. Another week went by, and around midnight to 1 a.m., she showed up complaining again. My boyfriend apologized and asked if she wanted us to lock the cats up again, but she said that would not help because there were people in both of her bedrooms too. He told her he was not sure what else she wanted us to do, and she left in a huff. We tried locking the cats up in crates and they absolutely hated it, so we gave that up. We tried separating them in different rooms at night, but they would paw at the door, and one of them ended up pooping in our room, so we stopped that too. The next time she showed up, it was because the TV was too loud. It was 10 p.m., and I was the only one home. I was watching a movie, and I did not think it was loud at all, but I apologized and offered to turn it down. I mentioned to her that people had just moved in above us, and they were pretty loud too. I think it is just the way the floors are built. She agreed and made a comment about how all apartments are paper thin. If she knows that, I do not understand why she is complaining, but I digress. So, are we the assholes here? Are we just bad neighbors? Are we not doing enough to stop the noise? I feel bad that we are bothering her, but I am at a loss for how we could accommodate her any better. Apartments can be noisy places to live, and it's reasonable to expect some neighbor noises when living in one. This neighbor might benefit from a white noise machine to help her sleep if noise is an issue. It's also worth noting that most municipalities require people to keep noise levels down between 11:00 p.m. and 7:00 a.m., so living your life quietly should be enough. If she keeps bothering you, consider telling the landlord to get her to back off. You are not to blame. Am I the jerk for leading the person on? So I, a 22-year-old female, met this guy, a 19-year-old male, at a club. We made out and exchanged numbers. I was quite drunk. The next day he was quick to text me, but I was not feeling it, so I told him. He texted me back that he did not give a shit, which I found quite immature. That was it. Next weekend he asked me if I was out, saying he couldn't just let it be. I thought it was quite cute, so I started texting him. After that, we met up outside 3 or 4 times. It was all right. We got along well, and he was very nice to me, but he started bringing up the topic of going to his place and having sex a lot. It was starting to bother me. I tried to let things cool down a bit so that I would have time to think without being pressured. I was not opposed to the idea of having sex. It was just that he constantly brought it up like it was a given if we ever hung out at his house. It also felt like a task, and I prefer for that kind of stuff to happen without planning. So I usually rejected his plans to chill at his place. Yesterday, I went to the cinema with my friends, and he texted me about going to his place afterward. I said I couldn't because it was Tuesday, his house was far, and I wanted to be home early. He seemed to not like my answer and started being dry. He also started questioning my reasons for not going because I had a car and should be able to. I told him that if he was not going to believe me, I'd rather end the conversation. He answered something similar to whatever, but a bit more rude. I talked about it with my friends and came to the conclusion that it was best to go our separate ways because he was too immature. I texted him that I did not want to hang out anymore, and he said okay, but it did not end there. He spammed me 3 or 4 messages saying that we should act according to our age, that I was doing things that contradicted each other, and that I had to text him back like a normal person and talk about it. I did. He tried to defend that he was not bothered about me saying no to going to his house, and that it was all me, that I had gone paranoid. I said I was sorry, but that I'd rather let things cool down a little bit and meet less because it was becoming a bit overwhelming for casual dating. We should not even be fighting. He agreed, but then 2 hours later told me he wanted to rethink things. I answered, why not just let it go? I think we are clearly not compatible. He has not texted me back since then. Am I the asshole for believing he was being childish and getting angry at me when I did not want to chill at his place? Just be clear and direct, like saying, I'm not interested in continuing things further. Best of luck going forward. Then either block him or just don't respond to anything he says. Nothing you have done here makes me think you are the jerk. People like that usually show red flags when they can't accept no anxiety. Don't cave to pushy and manipulative people. Am I the jerk for not letting my child study? This post is about my oldest 2 children, Nicole, who is 21 years old, and Ava, who is 20 years old. Nicole is a night owl. She can easily stay up all night and sleep through the day. Ava is the exact opposite. She is in bed by 10 p.m. and tries to sleep by 11 p.m. Nicole also has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and Ava is autistic and has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Ava is very sensitive to light and sound when she is trying to sleep. Her room has to be pitch black with no sounds between 10:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. This is usually pretty easy to accommodate considering everyone, but Nicole is also asleep or going to sleep at that time. Nicole is taking a condensed science class this summer. She goes to school from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. She is out with her friends or boyfriend until 10 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. She then comes home to study, which can be 3 to 4 hours a night. She claims that she can only study in our dining room. The dining room light shines into Ava's room, so Ava cannot sleep with the dining room lights on. The other night, Ava and Nicole got into an argument because it was almost midnight. Ava had to be up by 7 a.m. for work, and Nicole was refusing to work anywhere else. I used blankets to help block the light, and Ava took sleeping pills to help her get to sleep. The next day when Ava got up at 7 a.m., she made sure to be loud enough to wake Nicole up. When Nicole got mad at her, Ava brought up that Nicole does not let her sleep, so why should she let her? I talked to the girls that day, and Ava had some good points. There are other places in the house where Nicole can study. If it really has to be the dining room, she should be courteous and not stay out so late that she has to be in there until 2 a.m. I agreed with her and told Nicole that from now on, I will be turning the Wi-Fi off at 10:30 p.m. unless she is working anywhere but the dining room or the living room directly outside of Ava's room. Today, Nicole got home at 10:45 p.m. and went to the dining room to do an assignment and quiz that were due by midnight. The Wi-Fi was off, so she came to me to turn it on. I told her I would once she moved, but she decided to argue and refused to move. She did not get to do her quiz or assignment, which severely impacted her grade. She is accusing me of playing favorites and sabotaging her because Ava wants to feel good about herself. Ava was originally in a similar program, but switched to one that she actually enjoyed. My husband thinks I went too far, but all she had to do was do her work anywhere but the dining room. Am I the asshole? It seems that Nicole might find other study locations distracting because of noise or discomfort, and perhaps the dining room has become her default study space out of habit. The issue is compounded by the household's rule of turning off the Wi-Fi if Nicole doesn't study elsewhere, which could be problematic if she needs to study late at night. It's also worth considering why only Ava's needs are being prioritized and if there are potential compromises, like Ava simply closing her door. Finding a balance that considers both Nicole's and Ava's needs could help resolve this conflict. Am I the jerk for blaming my partner when my dog ran away? So today, my boyfriend, a 28-year-old male, was over at my house, and we were putting new mulch down. When we were done with the front yard, he said he wanted to take a shower and watch TV. I asked him to wait and help me finish up the back as well. We got into a small argument about how I make him work too much, and it culminated with him going inside and slamming the door. I continued to put down the mulch and do basic yard work. My boyfriend came out and was forcing my dog, Bella, out with his legs. He told me that she would not stop following him into the bathroom and I needed to watch her until he got out. I told him to put her in my bedroom, but he was already upset and told me, "Just watch the dog." I did not want to start another argument, so I let her stay with me. I told him to be fast and continued working, glancing over at Bella every once in a while to make sure she was okay. While planting a stubborn flower, I did not look over at her for maybe 2 minutes because I was focused on what I was doing. In this time, Bella ran away, likely chasing something. I could not hear much above my music, but when I finally turned and saw she was gone, I started freaking out. I ran all around my house calling for her and yelled into the house for my boyfriend to come outside. I called people around my neighborhood to ask if they had seen her, and nobody had. I got in my car and started slowly driving around looking for her and calling her name out the window. After about 2 hours of searching, I decided to go back home to see if she came back as a last-ditch effort. When I got back and she was not there, I was hysterical. I came inside, and there was my boyfriend, watching TV. I immediately started yelling at him for not caring about Bella, and he said that he does care, but there is nothing he could have done. I was still bawling my eyes out as I told him this would not have happened if he just did what I asked him to do, and he just scoffed. He said that this would not have happened if I actually watched my dog. I looked at him in disbelief, told him to get out of my house, and went looking for her again. After almost 3 more hours of looking, the sun had set, and I still could not find her. I knew I would not find her in the dark, and decided it would be best to sleep and try to find her in the morning. It is about 1 a.m. right now, and I still cannot sleep because I am used to Bella sleeping next to me. I cannot stop thinking about the argument with my boyfriend. I really do not think he thought this would happen, but I just do not understand why he would bring Bella outside if he knew I would not really be able to watch her. Even though it was my knee-jerk reaction to blame him, I cannot stop telling myself it was my fault, and he is right. My friends are telling me it is his fault, but some of my family is saying I am being unreasonable, and that I should have paid more attention. So I really do not know anymore. So, am I the asshole for thinking it is his fault? You acted correctly. It seems like emotions were already heated from the previous argument, and anyone might have reacted the same way. He could have easily put the dog in your room, knowing you were distracted. Instead, he chose to behave poorly, not being a helpful boyfriend. Next time, march the dog back inside and tell him to be a better partner and not a moody person. Am I the jerk for asking my sibling not to tell our parent that I'm having a party without their full consent? I am planning my 20th birthday party and decided to ask my mother as a favor if I could host it at our house. I even asked her if she could go out of town for the party because I was concerned that the noise and the late hour that I was planning to have it at would disturb her. She agreed and planned a trip to visit my father in Florida for the week, for which I am also very grateful. This would leave me and my sister, who is 21 years old, as the only ones left in the house. Right before my mother left for her trip, she asked me if there was going to be any drinking at this party. Blindsided, I said no, which was a blatant lie as I had made it clear in the invitation that drinking was welcome. My mother then made it clear that no drinking was her only rule for this party. She ended up telling my sister to keep an eye on me. I asked my sister if she was planning to be home on the night of the party. She said yes and asked if I was planning on having people drink. I told her that I was, and she immediately got cold and yelled at me for breaking my mother's only rule in her own house. I did feel guilty for lying, but I know that neither of my parents nor my sister understand that I wanted to, for once, have a party with alcohol that I host, and that I can have all my friends at. I plan to manage the party very well and avoid accidents, and if anything does go wrong, take care of it and clean it up. I do have friends who are sober and going to be there in case anything goes wrong. I feel like the least she could do instead of completely shutting my idea down or snitching is be there for me in case of emergencies. I just don't think this detail is something my mother needs to know about. Your behavior wasn't right. It's not your house, so it's not your place to make the rules. Being in a fraternity and partying every weekend doesn't mean there won't be accidents. Just because you plan to manage things well doesn't guarantee that nothing will go wrong. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.